All right, now let's head over to Kyiv in Ukraine to speak to journalist Olena Removska. Olena, thanks for joining me here on Anews. Our hearts and minds are with you all in these terrible times. But I'm glad I've got you here now. We can start talking about how things are progressing. I'd like to talk more about the political side of things. The West, as we call the West, I hate that term, but nevertheless, UK, EU, they've also put these sanctions on Russia. Do you think it's enough? Do you think the international community are doing enough? As a Ukrainian and as a journalist, I'm asking you, if these are enough moves to halt or to slow Putin down?
First of all, thank you very much for your attention. Speaking about sanctions, I'm glad that the world is trying to act, but I'm not sure if those actions we see currently is something that could stop Putin, because I am sure that Putin is the one who decides. The final decision is always his. So I'm not sure if those sanctions which have been approved could stop him. We had here a lot of talks about, switching Russia off SWIFT system. Yesterday and the day before yesterday, there were a lot of news about those facts that different countries are agreeing on switching Russia off SWIFT. But currently we see that what they have agreed about is not a total SWIFT switch off of Russia. It's only partly, and it will be only for some of Russian banks. I'm not sure if this is something that could stop Putin, but anyway, I'm glad that world leaders are trying to move forward and trying to do something to help Ukraine.
Well, let's see if it does work out. We'll see the markets tomorrow, how that pans out. Now, we're looking at, I've personally here, even in Istanbul, I've seen a lot of protests in capital cities, or Istanbul not being a capital city, but in many capital cities around the world protesting. I think we've lost you. Have we lost you? I think we have. All right, you're back with me in the studio. We'll get Olena back in a second. It seems that we've lost her now for the sake. I guess Ukraine will have trouble with the internet connection. We'll try and get her back, nevertheless, as it's always good to talk. Okay, let's continue with the latest. Germany has reversed a historic. Oh, I've just been told that we have got her back. So let's see. Do we have her back? Olena, good time. I assume the internet's not going to be great in Ukraine. You are in a war zone, nevertheless. So anyway, so basically, okay, where were we? We were talking about protests around the world in support for Ukraine. I mean, this must be a positive side that will pressurize local governments. But I've also seen in the news, I don't know if you can tell me firsthand, many people leaving Ukraine out of fear, perhaps, trying to get to Poland or to neighboring countries. But on the flip side, I've also heard news about many people flying back to Ukraine to join the fight. So, I mean, it's a mixed sort of feelings. What's it like on the ground at home? What's it like there?
Well, if you allow me, I will start with the world's protest. Just want to say thank you to those people around the world who are trying to support Ukraine. I saw that there were some protests in support in Turkey as well. Thank you very much for all those who participated. I'm sure that it means a lot, especially saying about how it influences countries' governments in their decisions to help Ukraine. Secondly, yes, some people leave, of course, and I think that they cannot be blamed of that, because people, they need to take care of their family members. So I just want also to say that it's great that neighboring countries are helping those Ukrainians who are trying to flee the country, because they had to. I'm sure that they didn't want to do this. But yes, many people are now trying to get into Ukraine. I mean, those Ukrainians who, for some reasons, left Ukraine, maybe they went for work abroad. They are now trying to get back and try to join Ukrainian territorial security units, as well as Ukrainian army. this is Ukraine, different things are happening, but 100% I can tell you that the fighting spirit of Ukrainians, not only in Ukraine, but all over the world, is very high, because we are also receiving messages that a lot of Ukrainians around the world are now uniting to try to help those Ukrainians who are still in Ukraine. And just one additional comment about those who leave Ukraine. I think that I can understand those people who leave the country, because you cannot be sure now that there is any place in Ukraine which is protected from Putin's invasion. So we are now just hoping that he's not going to move forward. Yeah, he's not going to move, for example, to the Western Ukraine. But anyway, those who are leaving, I think that they're just trying to protect themselves.
Absolutely. No judgment here, just trying to get the facts. Absolutely. I was speaking to an analyst just the other day. He was also in Lvov, but he was telling me about how President Zelensky is providing guns to civilians. Now, first of all, I thought that was heroic, but then when I started thinking about it, I was getting quite worried, actually. I mean, is it a good move to be arming civilians like this? Could it not sort of create a Wild West sort of scenario? It seems scary, to be honest.
I understand what you are saying, but I hope that, currently in these conditions, Ukrainians will use these weapons as it should be used, and they are not gonna, use it for some criminal things. At least for now, we haven't heard anything like that. You need to know that the main, parts of the population who gets these weapons, what you are talking about, these are units of territorial defense. Ukraine, from the beginning of this year, we had territorial defense units started being formed. And at the moment when the war started itself, I mean, the full-scale invasion started, these units, they were not fully formed. So probably this is the way how Ukraine is trying to protect itself, because we know that there is regular army, but there are also territorial defense units from those people who are living in different cities in Ukraine. So these people are getting weapons. I really hope, because I share your worries, I really hope that these weapons will be used only to protect Ukrainians from Russian aggression.
It's interesting. I'd like to make a point here that we've always talked about what's going on in Ukraine, and in fact that Ukraine is actually in self-defense. We always hear about the self-defense of Ukrainians against Russian attack. We don't hear about Ukraine proactively attacking Russia. We don't hear about those long. So this is a point to make. All right. We've got coming up, or I guess soon, or Zelensky and Putin plan to meet, or they've talked about meeting. I mean, there was a talk about meeting in Belarus, but they said absolutely not. We're not going to be attacked we're not going to meet in a country that attacks us. Do you think, as a journalist, do you think that they will meet eventually? And if they do, are we expecting either side to give way or to give some sort of compromise? What are your thoughts?
The latest information we have concerning negotiations is that Ukraine's President Zelensky talked to a Belarusian self-proclaimed leader, Alexander Lukashenko, and they made a deal that Ukrainian and Russian delegation will meet at the border between Ukraine and Belarus. If I'm not mistaken, this information was confirmed by the office of Ukrainian president. We are waiting for more details. I don't know any more details, but this information is the one we have. Yes, Ukrainian President Zelensky, he says, and he said that for the last few months at least, that he is ready to meet Putin to try to understand what he wants and try to inform the Putin himself what Ukraine wants and demands. I'm not sure if, to be honest, that Russia's President Putin really wants any negotiations with Ukraine. At least if we speak about the conditions that Ukraine demands, because Ukraine is standing for Russia leaving the whole Ukrainian territory. It means not only Kyiv, it means not only those territories that were, under attack during the last few days. It also means the occupied part of the Donbas, and it also means the occupied Crimea. So I'm not really sure that Putin's going to agree on any of that. But anyway, I think that it's good that Ukraine's President Zelensky is ready to negotiate. And what I hear from him during the last few days is that he's not gonna follow any Russian conditions on, Ukraine giving up any part of its territory. But anyway, I hope that any kind of negotiations could be possible. The one thing I'm very much worried about is that I think, and I'm glad that Ukraine's president understands it, that the delegations, they should meet at the neutral territory. I cannot say that, the border between Ukraine and Belarus is now a very safe territory. But anyway, I'm glad that Ukraine's president states that they need to try to meet at the neutral territory. I know that Istanbul mentioned was also, I could be mistaken, but anyway, it should be a neutral territory. And I'm not sure if Russia's President Vladimir Putin is ready to leave his bunker.
Very nicely said. I know we're laughing here, but it's not funny. You're right. The border does seem like a potential assassination point for me. I mean, I don't know how he could meet there. It seems way too much in the open. Okay, let's talk a little bit about life in Ukraine. Has it been? Of course, it's difficult. That goes without saying. You've had the state of emergency, and I believe throughout this whole weekend, everybody's locked in at home. Are people able to get access to food? We know that some countries are sending humanitarian aid your way, but on a day-to-day life, you'll find out probably more tomorrow when you actually leave your house, but will it be pretty much back sort of normal? Are people going to work, or how is it?
Well, currently, at least in Kyiv, we are having a curfew, so we cannot leave our houses till 8 a.m. tomorrow morning. It was announced because of the difficult situation in Kyiv and its outskirts. So yes, we are now staying at home. Yesterday, I had a chance to go to the supermarket. I can say that a lot of markets, at least in the center of the city, they are closed. The one we had a chance to go in. It was. I can say that it was full of products. I think there was a lack of bread, but in general, there was an opportunity to buy something you need to eat. There were some queues, at the cash point where you needed to pay for the product, but I need to say that all people, they were very calm, and I think that everybody understands that the situation is difficult, but they pay respect to each other. Those people who you are now facing such a difficult situation. Speaking about work, I can tell you that most of the people, at least in Kyiv, but I think that in most of the regions which are now close to the hotspots, people are not working. Those who can, they work from home. Some of the strategic objects, they continue their work. For those people who need to go to such objects and continue their working, you need to have a special permission to leave the house, because in general, everybody is asked to stay at home or to go to the bomb shelter and try to do whatever they can to stay safe.
Indeed, these bomb shelters. We have an analyst out there in Ukraine. he showed us around one of the bomb shelters just yesterday. Are there a lot of these bomb shelters around?
That's a good question because, we had before the exact full-scale invasion, I saw that some Ukrainian photographers, they took a map of these bomb shells and, some cells and undergrounds and went there to check if they work. So, yeah, some of those bomb shells appeared to become, a club or a bar or something like that. But anyway, as far as I know, most of the people in Kyiv, they say that they don't have a problem with reaching a bomb shell or, some kind of a basement where they can feel safe. There is also a big network of metro in Kyiv, and this, I think, is now the main, shelter for those who live close to the metro or those who thought in advance that they need to come closer to the metro in case of any emergency. I spent, few hours down at the metro station on February 24th and 25th. And I can say that, of course, it's pretty much uncomfortable to stay underground, even for a while, for 1 or 2 or 3 hours. But I need to pay attention to the fact that people who are staying there, they are, they show a huge dignity because it is clean there and everybody is trying, to support each other. And also what is important, Ukrainian metro stations, they allow people to take their pets down also. So you can see a lot of people with dogs and cats, because of course you cannot leave your pet, even if such a huge danger is there.
Indeed, indeed. Our hearts and minds and our hearts are with you all for sure. You've decided to stay home. Do you feel safe?
That's a good question. I'm staying in the city center, and one of the information, the information we have, is that Russia will try to block the governmental quarter, which is not far from the place where I'm actually staying. But I think that I feel myself safe now. And we are also following all the necessary rules to stay safe. If we hear siren, and for example, I think that in a few hours we will start hearing them again very often. We go to the corridor, the space between walls. And so we stay there until we hear that everything is calm outside again. And we are trying to follow the news, to be sure that that we understand the current situation in Kyiv. If we speak about those attacks and fights which took place in Kyiv yesterday, they took place from it was 8-9 kilometers from the city center. Late in the evening yesterday, we had rocket fire. It was 4 or 5 kilometers from the city center. So we just try to follow the news and to count on any information that could be useful in this situation.
Indeed. Olena, please stay safe, please stay well, and I hope this dreadful war is over soon. Thank you so much for joining me here on Anews. We hope to speak to you again soon in the next few days. Take care and goodbye.